Welcome back to What Arty Noobs for General Disturbance. This is a Strodny Viz 39. It's a tier 4 Czech medium tank. It's located on the southwest spawn of Arctic region and it's under the command of JeffXandra. And we've got two tier 4 games for you to enjoy. No equipment showing, but I'm sure Jeff will supply that. Game on! Well, this is a very unusual tank, actually, because it was designed back in, 1936, as far as we can tell. It underwent trials in 1937 until 1938. In 1939, it was basically complete, and the Czechs started selling it, or trying to sell it, to other nations. Unfortunately, none of them were interested. And of course, by the time that they were actually willing to sell it, the Germans had taken over in Czechoslovakia, and therefore even the Germans didn't actually want to buy it. Now, it is kind of small for a medium tank, but technically it is a medium tank stroke heavy tank for the time. And you can probably see, if you look up really close, is that it does have rivets. Yes, tanks with rivets, which weren't very popular because if a tank got hit by a shell, the rivets might pop out. Now, the armament on this tank is actually fairly low caliber, 47mm main gun, capable of doing 75 alpha, 97mm pen with standard ammo, with the APCR goes up to 132mm. He spotted someone. It's a tier 4 game and it's a reduced numbers game at that. The M8A1 took more than, 3 shells in total, and our Panzer III Aslains J is pushing forward, but the M8A1 does have friends with him. And we're still getting rounds on him though. Who's next? Well, in fact, it's another Panzer III, and we did take a hit there. In fact, he's still starting to get shots on us. The gun depression is quite good. It's 10 degrees gun depression. Well, it was our Panzer III Aslains J who got the kill on the enemy M8A1, but there's another one just around the corner. Hello. And so we started attacking him instead. He's not looking at us, he's looking at our teammate. And in fact, actually, he does take out the Panzer III. And in fact, he gets killed by the T6 behind us. So now we're trying to deal with this Panzer III. And he goes down. Now, it is fairly low DPM model because, of course, with that 75 alpha, it's not very big. And the reload time by the book is 2.59. He had 2.49 in this. And that means he's fairly slow and he doesn't do a huge amount of damage. Which means in a gunfight, he actually can come off quite badly. It takes a while for him to pump the rounds in. The Lux has died down into the dip. Now, he fired a round at us. It looks like he's got the 2-pounder. Well, not the 2-pounder, the cannon, not the 30mm cannon. So it's not a... Yes, you see he's actually fired more than a few rounds into us when we've only got one shot every few seconds. And that's the first kill of the game for us. Okay, another M8A1. And the kill shot that time goes to the T6. So we're not getting a lot of kills, but we are certainly participating in the battle. There's only one enemy tank left in the game. It's a Matilda. And we haven't seen him yet. Oh, we have. He's down in the south, so we've got a long way to go. My mistake. Yes, he's actually all the way down there. He's gone unspotted. So he could be retreating from our teammates on the other side. Yes, it wasn't a 2-pounder. It was actually, I'm thinking of a 20mm cannon that the looks would actually have. And I think that's what he hit us with, the 20mm, which is more of a flat gun than anything. But it just allows you to burst damage in. And now the Matilda's going to be a different problem. Of course, he does have armor, good armor, but he might have the 2-pounder gun. In fact, yes, he does have the 2-pounder. Now, we're pumping our rounds in, and we're getting penetrations. And the kill goes to us. So that's the end of the game. And 2 kills. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was an ace tanker game for JeffXandra in the Strodny Viz 39. He managed to get a sharpshooter for getting 10 or more consecutive hits on the enemy, as well as a master gunner for getting 5 armor penetrating shots in a row, a fire for effect for doing more damage than hit points to his own vehicle, and a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he managed to get 6 in this one. He also got a high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game overall. He didn't do a lot of kills, but he did do a lot of the work necessary to actually get those kills and allowed his teammates to actually pounce in and get the kill at the last moment. His win rate from that game, 10,029, which is super Unicum standard. So he lasted far longer than most Strodny Viz 39s do. Let's have a look at team score. Well, we can see the highest damage was 1,916 hit points, and that went to JeffXandra. Second highest damage was the B1, who managed 1,256 hit points. And the third highest damage, well, that turned out to be the looks on our team, with 556, just beating the Panzer III Aslains J on the enemy team. When it came to kills, it was the B1 and the T6. They both got 3 kills apiece. In fact, the T6 benefited from JeffXandra's shots because, of course, he jumped in and claimed the kills. And we can see that JeffXandra got second place with 2 kills, and then there was 3 players with 1 kills. Well, all the other kills were actually, I believe, because it was a reduced numbers game. I think these were the only players actually in the game. And when it came to base XP, we can see, yes, he got that one. So he's got the highest damage and he's got the highest base XP, just missed out on the kill count. 885 went to JeffXandra, 700 went to the B1, and the third place, all that goes to the T6 with 361. He fired only 31 rounds, but he got 30 direct hits and 27 penetrations. 1,916 hit points, all of it at close range. 10 hits received from the enemy, 9 penetrated, 1 non-penetration. The armor's relatively thin. The thickest armor is on the front of the turret. It's only 60mm, but most of the rest of the vehicle is 30mm or less. So obviously it's fairly easy for the enemy to pen you, especially if they have cannon shells which are able to cut their way through the armor. So he received 10 hits, 9 penetrations, 1 non-penetration, 70 hit points of damage blocked by armor, 2 enemy vehicles spotted, 6 enemy vehicles damaged and 2 killed, and he got 115 hit points of damage assist in the game. On a premium count, he actually made 32,456 credits profit from that game, and he also picked away 2,655 experience points as well. So yes, he did cover a lot of ground in a Strodny Viz 39. Normally these tanks, because they're so lightly armored, don't last very long because somebody else will pick them off fairly easily. But JeffXandra stayed the course for the entire battle and got the last kill. So the second game, let's have a look at that right away. The second replay is in the AMX 40, which is a tier 4 French light tank. Yes, I know, it's hard to believe this was a light tank, but it only weighed 22 tons in total. Game on! Well, I can tell straight away from the turret that that is the Top Gun, which is a 75mm caliber with 110 alpha and 85mm of pin with standard ammo. With the premium rounds, which are heat, goes up to 131mm of pin, and with the HE rounds it's 175 alpha and 38mm of pin. This is a tank which actually was designed almost without any right angles at all, so rounds would literally bounce off it. You can see the enemies making their way up onto the hill already, but they've stopped there in the center, which was a bad move because now we're starting to pump rounds in. And with a 110 alpha, we can do a lot of damage to the enemy tanks. Now he's using auto aim there and lost chance to get another shot on that T80. Now, unlike the Shodny Viz 39 you saw in the last replay, that actually they did build 2 prototypes. This one never got any prototypes built at all. It was designed to replace the Shure S35 and the Shure S40, but they just didn't build any because, of course, France was taken over by the Germans in the spring of 1940, and therefore this vehicle, which was the design was completed on blueprints by then, it wasn't taken up any further. Now it is called the Duck for a reason, because it does look kind of comical, but it's actually very effective. Now he's finally taken some damage after blocking most of the shots that came at him, and the enemy keep moving backwards and forwards in front of the gates, and they're bouncing rounds off him. So he's blocking a lot of damage, but he actually did receive 1 shot from Panzer B2. There you go. Oh, it's not him. The M5 there, but there is a Panzer B2 there, or Panzer B2, and that guy did manage to get some shots on target, and the M5 Stuart goes down. Now the heat rounds are particularly effective on this tank. They do go through the armor fairly nicely at tier 4. In fact, the funny thing about this tank is actually playing it with the HE rounds. And I think if you'll look somewhere on our channel, there's a game of me playing this AMX 40, the Duck, with nothing but HE rounds. And I managed to get, well, I think I called it the AMX 40 Defender, because, of course, it's actually managed to get at least the top gun out of it. Couldn't get anything more because, of course, it's tier 4, so you can't get a Radleys or anything like that. But yes, I managed to wipe out a huge number of enemy tanks by just firing HE at them. And that's because this HE gun does a lot of damage. As I said earlier on, the HE rounds are capable of 175 alpha. So basically, you almost take half of the enemy's hit points with just 1 round. Can be tremendously effective at this tier. Now it's even funnier actually if you get more than one of these in a battle and then they're fighting each other. Well, there goes the Panzer B2 and he's just lost 116, which is a high roll. And we're looking behind because, of course, he's trying to work out who does he go after next. Well, that SARL 42 would have been quite a nice target, but no, he didn't get a chance. It's a reduced numbers game again, but there are bots in this one. I get the feeling he's going to go down to the bottom and try and get that Panzer B2 deliberately and quickly as he can. But no, he changes his mind. In fact, he's found another target to aim at. Unfortunately, he's not angling well because, of course, you do need to angle even with this rounded armor to try and make the shells bounce off. Now, they never built any AMX 40s because the project was discontinued before they got to the manufacturing stage. But it would have been interesting to see how it would have fared because, of course, if they had built it in France, it probably would have gone on the German side. And then, of course, it would have come up against British and American vehicles. And you just saw him take out that M18-1, and he's now up to 4 kills. He's also racked up 1,420 hit points of damage, and he's blocking shots coming from that 40 TP, that Polish tank, up on the island. He's tremendously effective, and look at this, we've got a Hetzer over there in the distance, and he's taking rounds up his rear. As I said, it's very effective with the HE rounds. The enemy Panzer B2 has been killed now. And our teammates are now very close to the cap, and he's just killed the 14 TP. And we've started capping, but the enemy started capping at the other end, and it's the Hetzer that's got into the cap. Our M5A1 Stewart is running away because he doesn't want to get killed by the Hetzer, who already has 2 kills, and he's running short on hit points. Now the Hetzer is fairly difficult to penetrate from the front. The M5A1 is likely to get wiped out if he's not careful, but he's now turned to face us. And 1 shot's all it's necessary, and he gets the kill that wins the game for JeffXandra. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was another ace tanker game for JeffXandra in the AMX 40. He managed to get a shell proof for blocking more damage than the hit points for his own vehicle, and of course surviving the battle. A master gunner for getting 5 arm penetrating shots in a row. A fire for effect for doing more damage than hit points for his own vehicle, and a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In that, he got 6 in this one. He also got the high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game, at least 1,000 hit points and 20% of the enemy hit pool, on top of a top gun. Yes, that last kill of the Hetzer was his top gun and 6 kills. His win rate was 20,698, which is super unicum and quite a bit more. Let's have a look at the team scores and see how well he did. Well, we can see he got the highest damage with 1,655. The second highest damage went to the M8A1 on his team with 959, followed by the Panzer Peace Phi on the enemy team, who managed 903. When it came to kills, he had the highest number of those as well, with 6 kills. 2 kills went to the Panzer Selbstfahrerpeter 1C on his own team, and on the enemy team, their Hetzer managed to get 2 kills. And when it came to base XP, he's got that one as well. So he's got the top in all 3 columns. 927 went to JeffXandra, 532 went to the Panzer Selbstfahrerpeter 1C, and 506 went to the Matilda. He fired 23 rounds in the game, got 18 direct hits and 18 penetrations, 1,655 hit points of damage, of which 108 were at more than 300 meters. 14 shots received from the enemy, but only 3 of those actually managed to penetrate. 11 non-penetrations, and you can see those rounds have bounced off the rounded hull. There's only a particular few spots where you can actually aim to actually get penetrations, so very few weak spots. 538 hit points of damage blocked by armor, 2 enemy vehicles spotted, 8 enemy vehicles damaged, 6 killed, and he actually made a loss because he did use a fair amount of premium heat rounds in this game. 5,812 credits lost, but he did make 2,781 experience points out of the game as well. He said, yes, AMX 40 quacks into the gold to get the top gun. It can be very, very funny with this tank, because if you use the right ammunition, you can get incredible victories off using virtually nothing. I mean, HE rounds will actually penetrate with this vehicle, and if they don't penetrate, they'll still do a lot of damage, but it can be hilarious watching tier 4 tanks get vaporized by an HE round from something as silly as a duck, and the duck just basically shredding off and the shells that come at it like a duck does with water off of duck's back. It really is amazing. This tank, it would have been hilarious if it actually been in the war, but I'm not so sure it would have been very good, because of course it has a very slow top speed. It takes forever to get up to 20 kilometers an hour. Maximum speed is only 35 kilometers an hour. So you're not going to be going anywhere fast, but you are going to be going there very hilariously, because it does look so daft, this tank. It really does look like a duck when it's sitting in the water. I hope you enjoyed those 2 replays. JeffXandra certainly likes to play the lower tiers, but they can be quite interesting, actually, especially if you get in a full-blown battle with lots of the enemy to play with. And even when you're playing with bots, it can be quite funny, because the bots can actually be quite deadly. They do use premium ammo quite freely, and they don't care about it, because of course the system will just default to premium ammo the first time they get penned with standard ammo. So yes, it can be quite dangerous if you play in a lower tier game with bots in it. Hope you enjoyed those too. If you did, please give this video a like, and thank you for watching.